can do against this main tank Zul.
Level 4 being hit by both teams. We're seeing standard stuff, the shielding potions for Decade Kane, that extra bit of life leech coming in for the Tassadar. Going to be incredibly useful, and the Grim Scythe, the more usual level 4 coming in for Zul.
Yeah, the cooldown reduction there, but Hyde in trouble, caught, and you know, he's one of the only heroes on this squad that doesn't have a reliable escape from the Bone Prison, so a very nicely chosen target here by Leftovers to bring this, you know, support down. So Hyde gets killed here as First Blood. That's going to give Leftovers opportunity to do even further damage than what Tempest has just done in the mid lane. Look at this top push. They're going to catch up with Spirits very shortly. You're going to see this scroll take out that last cannon tower.
Very nice. Already 11 gems turned in as well for Leftovers and 36 in their bank. They're very much approaching that critical mass. Tempest, though, 1 gem out, and they're easily just going to pick that up right now. So they have enough, and Leftovers, their attention will be turning onto defending those turn-in points. They're actually putting a bit of pressure onto Dami, forcing him to Avenging Wrath out.
Yep, actually a very nice trade here for Leftovers, who now have enough for that turn-in. If they can use this wave clear, control of the lanes to make that happen, it's going to be ideal for them. Dami is going to get rooted here. No big deal. Nice trade from Opsio, though. They just haven't quite yet gotten the pick they need to get that turn in. We're going to see Lockdown commit heavily here on the chase for DAB.
Bit of a misplay by DAB then, not holding his attacks, eats a fair amount of damage from the Genji deflect.
Exactly. That's one of the reasons why people were saying at the beginning when Genji was released, he is like a counter to Tracer. It's not really true, as we know now, but
yeah,
when you make a small mistake like that, it can be big. And Lockdown went very deep here. DAB is in super big trouble here. Long range attacks here from Good against the shield, though.
He has Blink back, though. He doesn't get himself caught out. The Arsenal synergy was winding up as well, so as such, we do see both players retreat as reinforcements arrive on both sides. Level 7 is hit, and currently, Decade Kane is holding his level 7 as Tempest to get the first turn in.
And that's all it takes, actually, in a pressure situation like this that's so wave clear based and so controlled around trades in lane. When you make a small, tiny mistake like that, as DAB did, which is uncharacteristic, he's considered one of the best Tracer players in the world, it's going to cost you the first turn in, and that might cost you a 10 deficit. And this comp that Leftovers is running wants to snowball the game hard, wants to be the first one to get 10, get that first web weaver push, and start to further advantages from there. So this is actually a fantastic moment for Tempest.
Decade finally picks up the Emerald. Zul, of course, bringing out his Harvest Vitality. This is where he really starts to get a lot of sustain. Of course, combined with Rapid Harvest. Once he hits level 13, that is when he becomes truly terrifying and hard to kill.
You can actually compare Zul to old variant pre-10, you know,
yeah,
in a way. Like, he comes online as a tank later than earlier. So this is going to allow Lockdown to dive deep here. They're coming in. Nice dimensional shift there, actually, by Podyboss to actually get out of it. Now, the counter-engage.
They're trying to dive onto Lockdown, who is being chased away. Licked even running after him, looking for the bop with the cane. But Mopsio with a great wrap out, looking for the turnaround, but by diving in. Great Lunar Flare. Follow up, and Tassadar is taken out. But Lockdown is super low in the backline. Scroller Cedar coming out, and they're going to take down ETC at minimum.
They definitely are. They want more here. A little bit greedy was Tempest, but Moxio stepped over. His shield is down. He's going to get taken. Look at knee.
Great swift strike from Genji. Lockdown has been skirting the edge of this fight beautifully. We see a quick blinker from DAB to recover a couple gems. Gets himself up to 30, but they still lose quite a few.
And this is another one of those examples of what we were talking about, Zul, his ability to be a tank, but temporarily. And after that moment of his shield is down, Tassadar's shield is down, and he's unable to auto-attack with Cursed Strikes. He's just unable to really shut down that attack speed and survive. So nice flank there, good setup, but Tempest turns on his head, and it's all about that ETC power slide into Lunar Flare that I was talking about in right after draft. And Tempest now has the 10 advantage. They're going to go for pretty meta heroics here. I imagine the mosh pit is not even a question at this point.
There's obviously an argument for the synergy with Stage Dive and the Purification Salvo, but let's count the interrupts. Decade Kane's heroic, Maiev, maybe heroic, and the Tether. Those are the interrupts. Oh, and Tracer gets stuffed at level 20. So, yeah, the mosh pit, like you said, it was so unlikely we would have seen Stage Dive here. Urel, on the other hand, she's going to go for the undefender, but there could certainly have been an argument for Sacred Grounds there if you want to take a stand against the against Zul, keeping distracted from your allies. That can be a very good tool.
It's very good against Zul, and it's also very good for boss control on this map in particular. So like it a lot. But some considerations were made, but canceled for just that extra survivability. We are going to see Tempest look to force a second turn in here. They're just a few gems away from that. Or, in fact, Leftovers has to make something happen now that they have 10. It's actually going to be Skeletal Mages coming out instead of the Poison Nova, so looking for more lockdown rather than damage.
We do see the Warden's Cage though. We did predict that along with the Archon for the big AoE damage and a Lornado for even more disruption. Root land onto Dummy, but Power Slide in. Quick pickup from Lockdown onto Mopsio. And with no tank, DAB is definitely trying to survive with that Tassadar shield. Moshpit more as a zoning tool. The Decade has to walk into it to try and escape. But Kidney tries to Warden Cage his way out, but this is going to be a good salvo to finish off 2 more members.
DAB is not going to be here alive. I don't think the recall. Oh, just barely enough. All right, you know, it's my first time getting a commentator. I've watched him so long. I've heard the stories, I've heard the legends. My bad for the miscall on that one, man. I should have believed.
You should have believed, but in this case, that was still a 4-for-1 in total in favor of Tempest. Beautifully done, and they're looking strong with another turn in.
It's a terrible time to have this 4-death moment for Leftovers because it's right as the Web Weaver is spawning. So look at how much damage is done before the Web Weaver even spawns here on this mid fort. So that means it's going to go down. That's going to allow more opportunity for further fort damage in the top lane and perhaps even a keep wall to be damaged here for Leftovers.
Well, it's going to be a talent advantage certainly here for Tempest as they are going to hit level 13 during this push. Bot lane has been left completely unattended. That's going to be pushing up, like you said, to keep walls here. Whereas Tempest are currently looking for pressure onto top fort, maybe looking to take that down.
A lot of Korean teams have faced against in HGC Korea this main tank Zul, and it's really about, I think, the Tyrande here, that extra burst damage. Lakitney way out of position here.
Yeah, he's going to try and play with vision. Finds Hyde. Where's the teleport? He does do it. He waits for the last second, but it's just an easy swift strike for the pickup by Lockdown.
Lakitney certainly has had his moments of being on the other side of the map throughout this early group stage, but was definitely trying to find a backline pick up something that was unable to do. Either way, it costs him, again, another death timer. We're talking about 8 kills to 3 here with forts down. And a boss play here, I think, is absolutely warranted given that the rest of the map is complete. There's complete vision control here for Tempest in all 3 lanes, so they can see any rotation Leftovers would make. We talked about how this comp for Leftovers is terrible at boss control.
Al comes out into the one area they don't have vision. They will spot the rotation of Leftovers. They know they're going for the turn-in, and it seems that Tempest are quite happy to sacrifice the turn-in of Leftovers in exchange for this boss where, you already mentioned it, they're going to attempt to begin weakening that keep wall.
And with Leftovers dying so much in this game, they've lost so many gems, so this is there's no potential for a double turn-in, at least not right now, especially with the wave clear as it is. So this basically nullifies the only turn-in they reasonably have at the moment, and Tempest is all the while building up for a third during this time. So they're basically limiting the effectiveness of this moment that Leftovers wanted to be huge to get back into this game.
Keep all taken out, boss still at over half health. And with the Web Weavers mid already pretty much defeated, bot already being weakened, Tempest shut down the push of Leftovers while gaining an entry point to potentially end the game later on.
And this is one of those things where, because the boss requires so much of a pull, like you mentioned, the Web Weavers essentially don't do much. They get cleaned quickly. It also means Tempest is soaking all lanes, and Leftovers is essentially soaking one, occasionally going off the other lanes, which are pushed by the Web Weavers, so unsafe to soak.
Down. Gonna get hit by the root here, but can they do anything? They actually get the tether, but Lockdown was able to get too far away, not going to be in a position to get taken out. Lockdown bolting over the wall. We also have an update apparently from our second series where Tempo Storm were able to beat out Beyond the Game in 8-2-0.
Oh, Leftovers may have overstepped here a little bit. They're going to go ahead and toss out the Skeletal Mages here. Looking for Lockdown. That would be a nice picky. X strikes out.
He's able to dash through, keep himself alive, but Kitty is low with Tracer already taken out as the main damage source. Mosh Pit not even needed. Mopsio is down. Poti Boss on the run. Linked is far enough away that he might actually no, they're closing in. Here comes the Sapphire Emerald, but he is in between a rock and a ninja place.
Yes, he certainly is, and that's going to be the end of him. It's going to be a staggered death as well, so that's going to be the longest death timer. No heals here for Leftovers. And we're going to watch this again. Watch this positioning here as they overextend trying to grab Lockdown. He uses X-Strike to get away, and now they're all out of position. This sets up a massive salvo as Blakitny and Mopsio just get bled down here. Sign in perfect position to get those follow-up stuns. And it's just a matter of desperation here for Leftovers because they know if they can get a fight, if they can get a single pick, maybe they can take that 14 versus 16 talent tier fight, 13 to 16 rather, at level 14. And this is something they've known to do in their region, is to take these fights for the down talent tiers, down members. But this was not that fight, and that's going to cost them not only a keep, but another Webweaver push that Tempest is going to try to end this game with.
Yeah, they are even grabbing the Bruiser camp for this as well. This is looking rough for the Leftovers. They have level 13, they have the Rapid Harvest for Zul, but it hasn't helped them. Tempest have been getting such good isolations, preventing that healing value. Mopsio is just kind of being ignored even in these fights.
Yeah, it's one of those things I said earlier, if this is a comp where you can get that 10 first and win a team fight with it and get a Webby return and look for that second one, suddenly we're in a completely different world, right? But if you don't, it's so hard to come back from behind with this. You have no real team fight initiation. Oh man, DAB, he is back in that Hall of Storms again.
Beautiful play from Dami with the knockback, setting up for Sign. And that is a quick pickup on one of the biggest damage dealers that Leftovers have. So much reliance is now on this Maiev. You can see getting reset after reset, but Tempest are having none of it. They even have groupies, that prog rock fully stacked on Sign as they begin moving in for the core.
Now here's the commitment now from Lockdown in. Blakitny is shoved away. Core under attack.
Reset after reset. Blakitny's trying to drop any damage he can. He's tanking through this magnificently. Mosh pit is great, and a quick double kill picked up by Tempest.
Lockdown is just going to get the reset after reset here to finish this one off. The salvo gets massive value, and that is going to be the completion here of this game. Everyone's low.
DAB. Can he do it? Can he pull off the 1v4? There's catapults on the core as well. He's trying to chase them. They're so mobile. The catapult's been cleaned up. They blow him up, and that's going to be it. The dream is not alive for DAB here, as Tempest will take game number 1.
No matter which way you put it, people are saying this team, Leftovers, they're looking for a sponsor. They're excited to be at such a prestigious event. They're a team that likes to experiment, tries to push forward a new meta, their meta, and also has these picks that no other team would try. And this narrative of they're trying to have fun, this is what motivates them, this is what makes them excited and gets them pumped and what leads to their wins, has kind of fallen flat in this group. This is the team that's here. Fnatic is not here for this BlizzCon the first time in 3 years. They do not attend BlizzCon. This is the 3rd seed from Europe. But we're now looking in a world where they might not get out of this group.
It could happen. There's still one more game in this matchup. But to break down that game we just saw, it's once again our analysis desk.
Things are not looking good for the Leftovers, but Tempest coming out swinging and shutting down the Zul Tassadar composition. Tempest showing the research going in and looking great while doing it, Skimmy.
Absolutely. I mean, we had concerns about the Zul in terms of its survivability if it wasn't able to actually fully execute. They needed a strong early game. They had the dream composition. I remember you and me sitting down there saying, this is a composition which screams Leftovers. If they don't win with this, I don't think they can win at all in this series.
And that's the whole thing with Leftovers, is that it seems like they got something that they had kind of practiced, but is it as polished? They didn't have the same type of boot camps that other teams did.
Yeah.
And I think that was a little bit tricky because it felt like they knew what they wanted to do, but it wasn't as refined. They forced the issue in some areas, but Tempest, the pressure, what we know Korean teams do in these situations is quite simply like, that's a nice draft. We're still going to run you over and play our style, and you better be flawless with your execution, else it's not going to work.
I got to be honest, I was looking at the faces of Leftovers in that entire match, and they look demoralized. I haven't seen them like that in any event. When you think about it, when it comes to online events, typically they're able to be in a really good spot. They're going through a deep dive in the bracket. They're getting pretty far, but right now they are seeing the worst of the worst right now of themselves, and I need them to find that spark. They have to get a win against Tempest, and they have to be prepared against Mindfreak.
And I mean, if you parallel that to what we saw coming out of Tempest, it's a team that I fell in love with when I first saw them at the mid-season brawl. These guys, they talk so much. They got energy, they got enthusiasm, it was bouncing out. Yes, it's easy to always be that enthusiastic when you're winning, but you know, these guys are always talking, and as you said, like we were watching this leftovers side, and this is my main question leading into the series. You know, how much stress do they actually now have on their shoulders? Because they say, look, yeah, we're taking it chill, we're having fun. That's the key to our success. But now you're at BlizzCon, you still don't have a sponsor. You've got all these expectations that are starting to mount on up. It's going to get to you eventually.
Well, we're going to need leftovers to find some words and make sure they get it all brought together. But some words from our sponsors are ready to be shown to you guys at home.
The 2018 HGC Finals are brought to you in part by Republic of Gamers, Corsair, T-Mobile, Samsung SSD, and NVIDIA.
Some of the teamwork comes in a very special form when you look at Tempest. You got Hyde and Lockdown, who are actually brothers, and they actually had some words to share here as they continue to be some of the best we have in Korea. I mean, look at Tempest and Hyde here messing around, but look at the teamwork between the two. My golly, that Riptire was devastating.
Their greatest successes have been when they've been on the same teams. I mean, you go back to 2016, the midseason, well, the DreamHack Summer, as it was called then, was when they had their brightest spot. That's when they shone together. They split for a time, so if you haven't kept up with Korean history, they split for a time, they come back together, and that's when they've had their greatest successes.
The brotherly love. We'll see if they can go all the way here at BlizzCon, but right now they got to focus on game number 2, and the battleground has been chosen. We are going to Towers of Doom. Leftovers choosing to go with the first pick here. And how will Towers of Doom fare here for the Leftovers gimmick?
Thinking Leftovers aren't going to be too disappointed by this pick at all. I feel like they should have a very strong time. We've seen this be a map that teams like the One and Mindfreak have gone to. And yes, it has macro elements towards it, but it still does force those team fights at the end of the day. I think if you look in this draft, I'm actually not too upset by the draft that we saw coming out there from Leftovers. I feel like they can try and use that recipe again, be it the likes of Tracer, be it the likes of Leeming for DAB. But just, you know, try and get a more solid tank. We saw such a strong chokehold on that tank port, and I don't think the Zul's going to work this time around.
I want to go back to the point Trick made at the beginning, because that was, he said they're very tank-centric, and I couldn't agree with you more, because right now, when you don't have map pick, that means you have first pick, so you can take away something like a Genji this time around, except Tempest says, wait a minute, your first pick, we're not going to give up that Genji. They put the burden on them, but it allows you to not forcibly ban some of those tanks, and you can take the Diablo or the Garrosh or whatever is left over, and then you still have 2 more picks to maybe prioritize that DAB pick if you want, because he needs to be on a Tracer, on a Leeming, or a Phoenix to get the most out of him.
Is this something that Tempest is highlighting that other teams should maybe start to follow suit? And a lot of teams, when we look at drafts, target DAB, take away heroes from him. But when we talked to Tempest, we were like, hey, who are some of the groups that you need to be worried about? They mentioned HGC, they mentioned Leftovers, and we were like, okay, so what's so straight about Leftovers? What's so great about them? And all they said, good tank play. And they are taking it away. They saw that in game number 1. Is this something that can be used by other teams to break the Leftovers down?
It really feels that way. After last game, and we saw the ETC in the previous series, and it seems like the second game when Heroes Hearth played against them, it was like, that's a nice tank. We're just going to play around that too. It's just, it seems like they're doing everything that they can to avoid Mopsio in these scenarios, and now Garrosh and Diablo both let through here. Neither one of them picked up surprisingly after the tank prioritization, but different battleground calls for different rules.
Interesting stalemate here, actually. I mean, the Hanzo would be very reminiscent of what we see on Battlefield of Eternity, but the Tyrande not getting picked in that first rotation for me is also a bit of a concern. You talk about the tank matchup, and now you get the 2 best picks for Tempest here. They get the Reynor, which is obviously so fantastic here in Korea, but then they hit that tank shred, so it's like, you can have Diablo, you can have Garrosh, we don't really care either, because we can do a lot of damage towards it. I kind of like the reason Tempest held on to their tank pick, just because they want to see exactly where DAB goes, and then flex that tank pick around there, because Stein is fantastic when it comes to that role.
And you got flexible options in this battleground too. If you want to try and handle just a Diablo and try to burn him down, you can move it to a Garrosh, pick him off when he shadow charges forward. But if you also just want to be aggressive on the battleground, Muradin becomes a very tasty option, being able to jump on the top of Sapper camps, be aggressive on that bottom 4-man. So the options are definitely there for Tempest. So they don't mind giving over a tank to Leftovers, although it is looking like the A-list roster here for the Leftovers. Diablo, Decker Kane, and Hanzo. This is bread and butter. This is what they've ran in the past. This is something that they can pull off, and they need to pull off.
Muradin's, he's in and out, right? He never really changes, but he comes and he goes. It's just the ebbs and flows of Muradin. But Sign, everybody knew Sign when he was on those old MVP rosters a few years ago. He was known to be the Muradin player at the time. So it would be something he's familiar with, can always go back to. His Muradin is legendary amongst most. It's where they won championships with on that roster that he was in just a few years ago.
And it gives you the ability for that reliable stun, follow up to the Tyranda's Lunar Flare. It gives you so much ability then to get locked down in place for this Fryle and Reyna to do damage from afar. And yep, you got a Diablo there, so obviously the likelihood of him diving in deep is going to be quite often. So they have so much percentile shred to take that down.
I think the Li Ming is both a pick they want, but also a denial, because if you get the Muradin Tyrande combo, even Thrall Tyrande combo, and there was a Li Ming at the tail end of this, I mean, that is just fish in a barrel right there.
Yeah.
The armor reduction there, I think they needed that pick on the side of Leftovers to deny it. See if Tempest comes in with a heavy hitter at the end of this, or maybe something tricky like a Zeratul to go on the backside.
It is going to be a Zeratul.
Yeah.
Jehan with the call there.
I think that's an excellent pick, though.
Yep.
By the way, a perfect pick for this comp.
Interchangeable too. Now you can put Thrall on that 4-man, Zeratul can flank on the side, control that side lane if need be, and then of course power up towards that late game, which Reyna is already doing naturally.
Yeah, I mean, you got those heavy hitters that we saw in the first 3 to 4 picks. You got the Zeratools that flex, that can rotate as that Roma, as that Genji, if you will, but then also has the ability to dive deep into the squishy backline, trying to immobilize that Decker can. We've seen it happen in the past where you've had like X-Strikes or Void Prism or any form of CC, just lock them out of place. There is no turnaround, there is no stay a while, listen, no Lornado, no heals, no nothing. So I like the adaptation, but it gives you the ability just to one-shot Li Ming again, and you know, really reduce the impact that DAB can have on this matchup.
Well, let's go ahead and go into game number 2 as Tetra and Wolf are at the ready to bring you the action.
We are preparing to head into game number 2, and this Zeratul, there's not a huge amount of the classic VP Wombo combo, except for maybe Thundering. But in this case, it's still such an effective hero at killing off those squishier targets.
Especially the Hanzo is going to have to be well placed, because this was an old counter to Hanzo in the past in Korea. It was the Tracer or the Zeratul. You never see it now because the level of Hanzo play evolved in Korea so much that most Koreans would never challenge a Hanzo with dive, because Hanzo can actually, in a lot of cases, just jump on the wall and kill the person who continues to dive. But I'm worried about the fact that there's Hunter's Mark plus Zeratul, plus the ability to lock the Hanzo in place, go heavily into the backline with a Thrall Sundering, for example. So there's a lot to worry about here for Leftovers. But I do like that they've taken a more traditional approach to this draft. They're not trying to use the fun picks, okay? We're not going into something that maybe somebody's never seen before. This is common, this is standard.
It is indeed. Everything's a little more chill with the Leftovers here. They've got a huge amount of burst potential with some decent team fighting and poke onto the objectives as well. Li Ming and Hanzo especially, absolutely fantastic. But on the other side, we have the Tyrande, great harassment. The Thrall, great harassment. So those bell towers, those altars, if they get fortress, we're going to have some pretty intense fights.
Certainly are. At the moment, see this little trade in the mid lane. Faster rotation up, though, coming in here for Podyboss to the off lane. It's going to be Zeratul, of course, off laning in this case for Tempest. So with Dami up there, he's going to play a more passive Zeratul than you would otherwise. It's not the roaming Zeratul, it's not the DPS Zeratul. But in team fights, you could do a lot to delay altar channels with this hero. And usually on this map in Korea, you see if you're not going to have a composition that's based around controlling the bottom bell tower, you have one that's based around globals. Tempest has neither in this comp. So in a rare mix-up, they're actually just looking for team fights.
They are indeed. They have the tools for it. This Zeratul, especially going for a cleave build, which is, of course, the more AoE style compared to the pretty much never seen Might of the Nerazim one-shot blow-up build that can... It could probably kill 4 out of 5 members of Leftovers in one go, but then you've literally burnt every single thing on killing one person. Whereas instead you could maybe burn VP and Cleave and kill an entire team that way.
Yeah, and you know, we'll see how the build finishes up in a few moments here, but I think that this is just going to be a more passive Zeratul, you know, old school style. We saw some of the more famous Zeratuls in Korea, like Tist, who's now, of course, the main tank player for Gen G. Reset also moved into Gen G. A lot of players on Gen G were good Zeratuls, like Rich, for example. And Jung'an, right? Like that old school style of Zeratul that you'd see in Korea. It's just an off-laner and then looks for team fights with the Void. Opsio finds himself a bit overextended here, but the attempt is actually onto the back line, and Good's going to pay for this.
Good is able to escape, though Celestial Attunement was enough to save Lockdown from the initial engage, but it can't stop Roots. So that Scroll of Sealing from Deckard Cain might end up being Leftover's best attempt at getting kills.
Yeah. It's a very aggressive way that Tempest collapsed there onto the backline rather than trying to poke Mopsio out, because you end up with a way better trade if you do end up with that Diablo poke, but they wanted to kill, and Rizzo could be very lucky. As you mentioned, the save comes through there from Hyde. Now, the triple altars have spawned, and we do see the rotation down here for Dami. He's looking for the catch here on the Mopsio. Mopsio out of position. He actually may go down here. Maybe first blood of the game, stunned by the Lunar Flare, and that's the first kill of the game here, going over to Tempest.
Nice pickup, easy kill with their incredible amount of blow-up. You saw a couple shots come in from Li Ming looking for at least some counter poke. Everything was dodged neat and tidily though. And we're going to see Tempest trying to take the 2-for-1. They've already managed to get the 1-for-1, but DAB looking for the interrupt is going to get zoned out and maybe picked off here. Good with the kill. 2 kills to 0, 2 alters to 1.
You see Mopsio, Kidney is going to die as well here. See Mopsio right now? He's still mounted, headed back mid.
Yeah.
Had he been there, the Li Ming poke is absolutely warranted. You have the peel, you have the protection, you know that you can go in and look for that poke. But unfortunately here, DAB took the risk for very small reward. He was going to have to delay for so much longer for Mopsio to return to that altar, and unfortunately the risk did not pay off. He was slain there, and now Tempest has this massive lead in terms of experience, in terms of the core health, and Potiboss sniffed out here on the risky attempt.
Tick, tick, and down he goes. Even if he got the fountain, the tick would have killed him there almost certainly. It was an interesting, you can see the hesitation. If he hadn't hesitated, he might have lived. We're going to see another kill again onto DAB and Tempest. They're just picking up kill after kill here. 5 kills to 0, a full level lead. It's just a solid amount of blow up coming in from Tempest.
It's just such a tragedy for this team that is playing a standard composition. They haven't made any major mistakes, but it's just, in terms of big picture, despite a lot of these heroes spending time in the Hall of Storms, they're still trying to play as if everything is normal, even though they're down a member, and that's allowing Tempest to get these solo pickoffs here and there. 5 kills to 0 is an insane stat at less than 5 minutes in the game. That's more than a kill per minute.
They're looking so good right now, and they're obviously going to be looking for more. An interesting talent choice I would like to draw your attention to, though, Wolf. Diabolical Momentum coming in for Diablo. It recently got buffed to about a 1-second cooldown reduction. Can't get it if you're dead though, as once again Tempest just roll into Leftovers and pick up yet another kill.
Yeah, I mean, right now Mopsio is sitting at 2 deaths. He's spent a lot of time backing off, trying to survive, or just simply with the death timer over a screen. It's not going to get you a lot of souls, not going to make you very tanky. And you need to be tanky, you need to complete that quest in order to get the auto attacks required to get value from this talent in the first place, exactly as you were alluding to as he was picked off there. Tempest now has control of the map, and they have level 10, and this means we could see a Hyperion locked in here to complete this Bell Tower control. Normally you'd see a Banshee with this composition, but because they have this massive lead, I think Good will absolutely just lock in the Hyperion, and they'll look to control this bottom Bell Tower, and therefore have this anchor in this game as Kidney caught again.
Dodging everything though, he's able to play around it, can't dodge that. Yes, he can, he gets over the wall, the lightning not off cooldown. He tries to bounce the lightning off Potiboss, Owl comes out as well. They were all in on killing him there, but Poti able to escape.
Poti also went to the right there, which is so critical because he knew the Q was going to come out. He actually made sure there was enough distance to where that would not bounce then to the wall and then kill him on the other side. So nice, very subtle move there from Poti that guaranteed the escape for Blue Kidney. But here's the Hyperion lock-in committed, and they're going to go ahead and use it to grab this Bell Tower. This is so textbook Raynor on this battleground.
Dami is going to escape a gank coming in here from Leftovers Potiboss. And he is going to have to burn VP to do it, but like you said, while this was happening, Tempest, they pick up the bottom Bell Tower with the help of that Hyperion and Yamato cannon for that extra structure damage.
They have 10 now, Leftovers do, and they have a lot of hard engage with this composition. They have a ton of combo potential with Li Ming to follow up after the stay a while and listen, but I'm really worried about how they've been getting caught and split. They need to roam as a group, more as they are now, and they need to consistently do this. We obviously do see the split here for the attempted altar, but here's a Sundering. Linked in so much trouble right now, no way out.
He's just potioning himself. Dragon Arrow, though, onto Good. Mopsio trying to dive it, but the healing from Hyde is coming out consistently. Good is tanking through beautifully. Mopsio completely isolated. He and Linked both taken out.
Yeah, just no follow-up damage there for the commitment from Mopsio. Meanwhile, obviously, these sappers are all going to connect. There's just no way to deny that at the moment. Well, as I say that, we do see a heavy commitment down, but even if you deny these down here, you're going to lose the boss, which means you're going to lose shots anyways. And you can see off-screen Dami in the top lane, just up to there at the top on the corner of your eye. You can see he's prepping this wave, get some more cannon towers. Right now, Tempest is thinking about permanent bell tower control.
Yeah.
If you take the bottom one back, we'll have another one prepped and ready to go during the trade.
Shots come in from the boss, and immediately Tempest start running down to bot. They can give it up if they want to, but they would be much happier if they could just keep in control. No, in fact, they don't rotate bot. They continue pushing mid, like you said, setting up for more.
Yeah, this is a really common thing to do in Korea when you're about to get that talent tier. You just take the walls, grab that experience, and start whittling away at the forts so that you can, you know, eventually get a second one, even if the commitment for leftovers is at the bottom, where you continue to use Hyperion to control that. We're going to see an invade here for leftovers, though. The arrow started off.
Zeratul getting focused down. Stay a while and listen, though, is not enough to finish off Dami. The lockdown not there. Buried it over the wall. And Tempest with a solid disengage. But leftovers do at least claim their own camp.
Not entirely sure what why that stay a while and listen did not catch him there. Might have just not
He was
him.
just on the outside.
Yeah. For a second, I thought the scatter arrow actually woke him. But yeah, I think he just simply was not in the hitbox of that. So unfortunate, because that could have been a great fight for leftovers had that occurred. Either way, 13 talent tier advantage here for Tempest as we look for the double altar fight. Mopsio leading the charge, trying to find this back line, but Good has no fear.
And for good reason. Tyranda's been doing such a good job of keeping him alive. He's completely comfortable just getting stuck in. Got fight or flight for some armor to keep himself alive even more effectively. Mopsio tries to tackle onto a minion, looks for lockdown. Apocalypse hits absolutely nothing, Wolf, and Mopsio, he is finding himself all alone. Boss and Link, though, coming in for the assistance, and they will sustain this.
Yeah, Hyperion just using, you know, this for a little bit of extra damage.
Oh,
Good has the ability to get in there with that extra passive range to get the kill. Now Mopsio stunned and caught. That's going to be a second kill here. Boss might not be long for this world. Good gets DAB as well. They're going to guarantee a triple here. Just no way to get out of this. Blakitny needs to be careful contesting this, or he might find himself dying as well. Sign wants
Got
it.
a wall. He's got a wall, but does he have natural agility? He gets the scatter arrow with Mopsio back. Blakitny will survive this time.
Mopsio being back here is a double-edged sword. Sure, it helps him survive, but it means he's out of souls. He's lost his health, and they easily retake this bell tower. Remember, the walls in top and bottom are also gone. This may not be the only bell tower that Tempest holds this game.
And we see Tempest just getting the double channel here. 10 shots onto the core of leftovers, bringing them down to 9. They are looking rough right now with Tempest at 33 core health. They're even going to grab some sappers here. Zeratul's already in mid lane soaking the experience. He doesn't rotate up to top though, so his top lane will actually take a little bit of damage, but at this point, an acceptable sacrifice.
It also allows him to get free soak later after defending this, rather than clearing it and then having a more risky soak in the future, especially with how aggressively Blakitny has been rotating this game and using his arrows. But how does Leftovers win this? I think it has to be a clean engage with CC linked together, but the positioning is so good for Tempest. Good does not get clipped by that scroll thing. That could have been the opportunity they were looking for, but it's just not quite there as they continue to escort these sappers in.
Moves closer every time, but he's still able to play safe underneath this bell tower. The AB will get a little bit of damage off, but Good just trades up so effectively. Right now, with these potions set up, Tempest, they are very happy to just try and zone away. But Leftovers, they do have the consistent sustain. Whereas Tyrande, once again, waiting for minions. But look at her mana count. She's been so efficient with the amount of healing she's been dropping that this is not an issue.
Dami just going to split off here as they let this bell tower go. But at the end of the day, Tempest is just not willing to take risks at this point. They have this game controlled. I mean, minus the core shots, they're on the verge of a perfect game, right? 12 kills to 0 at the moment. Why take a risk over the bell tower you could take back later with the composition you have, with the Hyperion that you have, when you could just get 16 instead? Doesn't matter if you have 5 shots, really, or 4, when all you really need is one team fight and the boss to finish it all off. Leftovers looking for the approach here. They do not want to give this bell tower up. Dami does not get hit by that scatter. They don't know where he is.
And right now, we're seeing the double channel attempt. Lynx will get his side. Potiboss, though, will get interrupted. Good wrapping in. Here comes
prison.
the Ed. Potiboss taken out by Dami.
Dami grabs that prison there to help guarantee this kill, and they want more than this. Stay a while, listen. Not really going to do all too much. Meanwhile,
wow.
down in the bottom, that is going to be the end of Lakitni, and Mopseal will fall with him. And this is just this disjointed team split into all different directions. And that's been the story of this two-game series. Linked caught.
Thundering, Stormbolt, and all the damage in the world. Tempest able to get the full team wipe. They move on to the bell tower. They're going to be able to take that down with an altar still available for them. They're going to be able to get a solid 5 shots, and that will be simply lethal.
That is going to be all she wrote. All they have to do is right-click.
Unless the Dragon Arrow hits them, because Hanzo is
It is
live.
coming. All
Here
they
it
have to do is stand here, though.
comes. APOC as well. First interrupt. Raider eats the Dragon Arrow, and now Malthael's on the way. He's going to attempt to 1v5, but there's nothing he can do. That will be GG.
Yep, he's not gonna interrupt that one. He doesn't want his KDA to go down a little bit. He knows that's not gonna happen. But Tetra, man, you got to really feel for these guys. They're this story of this team that made it through Europe. A lot of people didn't expect them to be here. They face off against Tempest that hasn't been a really strong team internationally like the rest of Korea in quite some time. It's a tough opponent, don't get me wrong, but to lose like this after having an already tough group, it's such a rare thing to see. Not all of Europe's representation in the round of 8 going to Anaheim. That's so rare to see a European team knocked out in this early stage. It's not set yet, but it's going to be a long and tough road for this squad going forward.
There is still hope for leftovers. 1-2-0 in the bracket, assuming the 1 get no more points, and they might be able to sneak their way out, and assuming Mindfreak aren't able to score a 2-0 somewhere as well. It is still possible. They are not out yet, but Tempest one step closer to going to Anaheim. But for now, we are going to send you back over to our analysis desk to break down that second game.
It's Tempest again getting 3 points.